Hi, welcome. I am not Mylar. Hey guys, welcome to the video about the WMD Fracture, which is this lovely module over there. The Fracture is the eurorack module that sounds like emptying your trash bin. No, just kidding. It's a fantastic little percussion synthesizer, and it can do a lot in a very tiny form factor. I like it a lot. It's by the company WMD, which I have no idea what the abbreviation stands for. I thought perhaps it means white male with disposable income. No. So WMD actually has a very good tutorial video on all of its features. And again, it does a lot in a very small module. But now that you're here, I'll walk you through some of the features. So enjoy. So the WMD Fracture is a fantastic little percussion module. And let's walk through its features. So at its core, you feed it a trigger and it fires a particle or a grain of sound. There's a bank of sounds that you can choose from, ranging from claps and percussive type sounds to some weirder sounds like that emptying of the trash can or your toolbox type sound that I was joking about. And it actually has two trigger inputs, which is very nice to get groovy things. But let's start at the beginning and we'll just feed it a trigger and get a sound going. So right now we're sending it a trigger and it fires a sound, and you can scroll through the sound bank. And the decay knob, if you open it up, the grains take a while to die out. And you will start to hear sort of the individual particles sounding and dying out. The density knob here says how many of these sound particles are made when the trigger happens, making your sounds more intense. And on the lower density settings, you can really start to hear the individual sound particles, which is a very nice textural effect. And on the very high decay settings, it almost becomes this infinitely looping texture. There's also actually a true infinite option. If you want to have it free running as an oscillator without needing the trigger. So at the top here is a spread control, and I think that determines the spread of the pitches of the individual grains. So now everything is kind of condensed in a small range of pitches. The frequency can act as a filter and both as a pitch control. So currently I have it set as a filter, opening and closing the filter, but the switches here allow for different controls if you like it. So with the switch in the middle, it opens and closes the filter, but also pitches the grains up and down. Which is a cool effect. Lastly, there's a built-in reverb. To the right, we're getting a reverb, which can go almost into infinity. And to the left, there's a different kind of reverb. the Fracture has two trigger inputs. One is called the tick input and the other is the trigger input. And they kind of act like triggers and accents. So allow me to demonstrate in Mylar jargon. So let's only use the tick for now. And it gives you a subtler, quieter triggering of the grains. And now when I use marbles to feed the trigger an alternating pattern, you get the accents. And if I change the rhythm, it's very easy to get groovy things right away. Like so. So obviously things get really interesting when we feed it lots of modulation, whether it's through your voltage block or everybody's favorite, the divkid ochd. Sending lots of freeform or synced modulation into the Fracture really is where the module shines. So let's get the rhythm back going. And I'll just start plugging in some modulation. So perhaps into, let's choose randomly the type of sound on each trigger. So modulation into surface. Let's speed things up a bit. So now you can hear it changes the sound ever so often. Let's also send some modulation into frequency, perhaps. And maybe into decay. So you can see how easy it is to liven up the sound and get really rich textural, percussive, groovy stuff going on with the Fracture. Now let's add a drum beat using the ramble here. So I'll just get a drum pattern going and then have the Fracture kind of play and riff off the main drum beat. So let's get that drum beat going. The Squarp Ramble, by the way, is absolutely fantastic module. And now let's bring up the Fracture again. And play with the controls a little bit. So you can see how it really quickly adds some interesting texture and, you know, just some extra layers, some groove, some sauce. Let's speed up the drum beat a little bit. Play a little bit with the Fracture controls. Sometimes you're getting these really weird happy accidents. Let me add some effects in Ableton. Some delay. Reverb. I think the Fracture is also really good with adding some reverb, some effects. You can produce some very ethereal, kind of lovely atmospheric sounds really easily. qubit surface to the mix. And let's continue to play around with the surface settings a little bit more. Nice. It almost sounds like somebody's flushing the toilet. Nice. Well, there you go. The WMD Fracture, and the data bender is giving me some chipmunks. Let me kill off the data bender. So yeah, WMD Fracture. I really like this percussion module a lot, and I only scratched the surface, so there's way more sounds that you can get out of it that I haven't even, shown you. But it's really fun to play around with. Gives you a lot of percussive stuff, some textual stuff. It can be a foreground element, it can be a background element really easily with some reverb and delay. You can really smear it to become this really weird, ethereal, kind of organic sounding thing. So there we go. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and until the next one.